Hello and welcome back to the 8.2 notes. This is part 3 of or it's 8.3 notes rather. This is part 3, which is the day 2 worksheet or note worksheet. And what I want to do is I want to go through and solve these equations and find our original equation y as a function of x. And so what I want to do here is the same method that we had, and that's take this and separate our variables. And so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to divide by y. So I'm going to get 1 over y dy is equal to 9x squared dx. Okay, so move your dx out of your denominator, move it to the other side, divide both sides by y, and this is what we get. So as a result, let's go ahead and take the antiderivative of both sides. And so when I take the antiderivative of 1 over y dy, that's going to give me the natural log of the absolute value of y. And then this is going to give me 9x cubed divided by 3 and then plus some arbitrary constant c. Okay? And so now, let me simplify this a little bit. We've got the natural log of the absolute value of y is equal to 3x cubed plus c. Now, my objective for this problem is to solve this equation for y. The problem is that y is inside of the natural log, and at the same time, it's also inside of the absolute value. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this natural log as a logarithm. And when I have the natural log, that's the same thing as me saying log base e of the absolute value of y is equal to 3x cubed plus c. Okay? Now the process here of solving this for y is pretty grueling. And so what I want to do now is I'm going to rewrite this step up here, and I'm going to say log base e of the absolute value of y is equal to 3x cubed plus c. Okay? Now, to get this out of log form and into exponential form, what I want to do is I'm going to take the e. This is going to become my base. I'm going to move it over to the other side. This part here becomes my exponent, and we're left with the absolute value of y. So we get the absolute value of y is equal to e to the quantity 3x cubed plus c. Okay? Now, here's where this problem gets a little bit tricky, and I really want you guys to probably rewatch this part that I'm about to do. And the first thing that I'm going to do is notice something about what's going on over here. Okay? Now, what I have here is I have e raised to this quantity where I'm adding these two numbers, these two terms, 3x cubed plus some arbitrary constant c. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is kind of think about what happens when I add my exponents. That means that I had, say the base e. If I kind of think backwards about it, I go, okay, well, really, that's just me saying that I have e to the 3x cubed times e to the c power, okay? Because when I multiply two numbers with the same base, then I add the exponents. So when I have this statement here, I can go backwards and I can make this claim that instead of e to the quantity 3x cubed plus c, I can just write it as e to the 3x cubed times e to the c. All right, and this is all equal to the absolute value of y. All right, now here's the issue, okay, is that when I have e to the c, all right, e to the c is a number. This is a number, okay, and because c is an arbitrary constant, if I take e to the c, this is still going to give me some arbitrary constant. So I'm going to turn this into, big C, okay, quote unquote. So what I do is I take that e to the c and I make that my big C, and I'm going to put that out here. And I'm going to multiply that by e to the 3x cubed power, and that's going to be equal to the absolute value of y, okay? Now, we need to think about how do you solve this equation for the absolute value of y. Now, what I want to do is kind of think about something here for a second. Let's think of, what if you had, say, the absolute value of x is equal to 2, okay? Now, what this means is that x could be positive 2, okay? But the other solution that you could have in this could be that x is equal to negative 2, all right? So when you have this, all right, absolute value of a number equals this positive number, then you could do the positive number, okay? Or you could plug in the negative number, and that would make the equation true. So the same thing happens here. When I'm trying to isolate y and solve for y if it's in an absolute value, then I can say that y is equal to the plus or minus big C times e to the 3x cubed power, okay? And now what I want to do is that my arbitrary constant now is c. Now what I can do is I can plug in my value for y and my value for x and solve for c. But here's the deal. We have to figure out which one of these we're going to use, okay? And by the way, this whole thing here is our general solution, okay? This is my general solution. And now what I want to do is I want to look at my initial condition, and I go, okay, if I plugged in, say, 0 for x, and I get a negative y value, which is negative 2, okay, then we need to figure out which one of these, are we going to do the plus sign or the minus sign that's in front of our big C, okay? So because, and this is similar to what we had on the other one, okay, and I want to highlight this and say, since the y value is negative, we choose the negative C value on our general solution, okay? So now let's go ahead and plug those in, okay? I've got 0 for x, negative 2 for y. So if I plug in x equals 0 and y equals negative 2, so what I'm going to get here is, if I plug those in, I get negative 2 is equal to negative big C times e to the 3 times 0 cubed power, okay? So now what I've got is I've got negative 2 is equal to negative big C times e to the 0, okay? And e to the 0 is just 1, all right? So I end up getting that negative 2 is equal to negative C. So if I divide by negative 1 and divide by negative 1, I end up getting that my value for C is equal to positive 2, okay? But when I go in back and plug this into my particular solution, I end up getting a value. If I plug in, C into here, remember that our y value had to be negative. So I have to keep putting the negative. Even though we chose the negative y value, or the negative sign, I still have to keep that negative there to make sure it works. So I've got negative 2 times e to the 3x cubed power, and this is my particular solution, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video so that you can kind of marinate on this. This process, guys, doesn't really change, okay? And so it's important that we understand this process, each step, especially getting the big C and then choosing what we're going to get. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye!